Hello everyone, this is assignment number 16, EduCreations presentation. How can you tell the relationship between species? Unit 10, Evolution. You will have to make sure you complete the 3 following steps at the end of this lesson. Step 1, watch the NOVA video to connect what you learned in assignments number 13, 14, and 15 and learn how you can tell the relationships between species. If you have not already watched the video, please stop this presentation and go and watch it. Step 2, watch the EduCreations lesson video and complete the notes. Step 3, complete the Google form, which will be worth 10 points towards your 4th quarter average. We will automatically receive a report of your answers and score when you complete the final step. We will enter your grade into PowerSchool to confirm that you received your work. There is no need to turn anything into Google Classroom for this assignment. Just make sure you complete all 3 components. Aim. What are the relationships between species? Relationships between species. Scientists are able to determine the evolutionary relationships among species. In addition to studying fossils, early development, and body structure, scientists use information from DNA and protein structures to infer how species are related. Remember, DNA makes chromosomes, have genes, code for proteins, and give us our traits. Scientists can infer how closely related different species are by comparing these 2 things: the sequences of nitrogen bases in the organism's DNA, the order of amino acids in a protein. This is something that we learned about in a previous unit, DNA and protein synthesis. Scientists use this to determine the relationship between all living life forms in the past and the present. It's a key component to understanding how every life form is connected on Earth. What do scientists do with all this evidence? Scientists use this evidence to determine the relationship between species. They show these relationships using a branching tree diagram, which is also called a phylogenetic tree. A phylogenetic tree is a visual representation of the relationships between organisms, showing the path through evolutionary time from a common ancestor to a different descendant. Please add this note to your note sheet, and this will be explained in a few moments more thoroughly to help you answer the questions on the Google form. This branching tree diagram shows the connection between a red panda, a giant panda, and a brown bear. The relationship between all 3 of these bears has been shown to have a common ancestor based upon using the DNA sequences. Using DNA evidence and branching tree diagrams, scientists have proposed that red pandas might actually be more closely related to skunks, weasels, and otters than actually raccoons. How does an entirely new species form? A new species can form when a group of individuals remains isolated from the rest of its species long enough to evolve different traits. Natural speciation is a type of isolation that generally occurs when species are separated by geographical features such as rivers, mountains, or volcanoes. Speciation is how a new kind of animal species is created. Speciation occurs when a group within a species separates from another member of its species and develops its own unique characteristics. The diagrams below help to illustrate natural speciation. This diagram illustrates a group of beetles. A river arises and separates the 2 beetles into separate groups. If you notice, the beetles are mostly brown in color. As time passes, many generations reproduce, and you'll start to notice that there's a distinctive change between the groups of beetles, allowing one group to change its color to green, and the other one remains more of the browns. This diagram illustrates two different squirrels, the Alberts and the Kabob. These squirrels reside in 4 different states as illustrated: Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. The geographical features that cause these squirrels to become separated is the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River. These geographic features cause these squirrels to separate and change their appearance over time. You will notice the region by which the Kabob squirrels are habitated is in the area of purple, and the Albert squirrel is in the area of red. Both of these illustrations help to show natural speciation and how species evolve and have common ancestors. A polygenetic tree is a visual representation of the relationships between different organisms, showing the path through evolutionary time from a common ancestor to different descendants. Trees can represent relationships ranging from the entire history of life on Earth down to individuals in a population. Trees that show species help us understand how new species from common ancestral species can form. Let's take a look at the 2 diagrams to the right, A and B, and connect the key terms. At the base of a branching tree diagram, we have what we call the trunk. As we move along the trunk of the tree, we move up what we call the branches. When we have a separation of the branches, we form what we call a node. This is the point where a new species begins to form from a common ancestor. As you come to the end of one of the branches in the phylogenetic tree, you form what we call a clade. A clade represents the ancestor and all its descendants. Remember, branching tree diagrams can be displayed in several different ways and still represent the same information. Take a look at diagram A and B. It's showing the same evolutionary path, it's just drawn differently. Let's take a look at diagram A. Let's assume that each one of the letters represents a species of animals. Would you say animals A and B, or E and D, or more closely related? Think about it. If you said E and D, you are correct. This is because they are in the same clade and they are direct descendants of a common ancestor, which is represented by this node. Let's take a look at this branching tree diagram with specific animals. All branching tree diagrams are represented by the past to present. In this branching tree diagram, you will notice that there are specific features that connect common ancestors to its descendants. Everything in blue represents an animal that is an invertebrate. As we work our way from the past to the present, you will notice that there is a node that separates invertebrates from vertebrates. This separation in the branching tree diagram identifies specific animals that are more closely related. As we work our way to the top of the branching tree diagram, you should notice that there are distinctive animals that start to form with slightly different adaptations. Let's see if you can identify the common ancestor of amphibians. If you said fishes, you are correct. The reason is because fishes came before amphibians, so they would have to be their common ancestor. Okay, here's another question. Let's see if you can identify the descendants of amphibians. If you said mammals, reptiles, and birds, you are correct. The reason is because mammals, reptiles, and birds came after amphibians, and they're above them on the branching tree diagram. Please read the key points on your own before moving to the next slide. This will help prepare you to answer the Google Form activity. Please use the notes you have taken and the knowledge you acquired from this presentation and complete assignment number 16, Google Form. It will be worth 10 points towards your fourth quarter average. We will automatically receive a report of your answers and score when you complete this final step. We will then enter your grade in PowerSchool to confirm that we have received your work. There is no need to turn in to Google Classroom for this assignment.